Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1726. Woo! Getting close to 1827. Oh, actually, that means that we're actually only 101 days away from 5 years. Wow. As you can see, we have a special guest with us tonight. I am super excited to bring on my very dear friend, Peggy Beauregard, who is the CEO of the Nest Egg Builder. And that is a company that helps you get passive investing with commercial real estate. And you can read all about her bio in the description. It is all there. And if you have any questions during the show, just pop them into the chat and we can pick up the questions and see them there. But Peggy, welcome, welcome, welcome. I finally got you on my podcast.
Terrible of me, isn't it? I'm so excited to be here, Helen, and thank you very, very much for the very many invitations. I'm here.
Yay. I'm just glad our schedules finally worked out. I'm super excited about this. So, Peggy, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
So, what stories did you hear growing up about money that influenced your life?
Yes, well, like most parents, my parents didn't ever talk about money. They said things like they didn't have money. They couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. If I asked for something, they'd say, well, you have to earn it. My mom would give us an allowance. So understand this is back in the mid 60s, and she would give us a dime to defrost the little ice box freezer part, which just held ice cubes. She'd give a dime for that. She'd give a nickel for something else. And if you did a really big job, she'd give you a quarter. So that's how I started earning money. And I could see I was never going to make enough by having chores around the house. So I started at 11 years old. I got on a bicycle and started delivering TV guides for about 2.5 years. And then the TV guide people decided they would just mail it to everyone. So I lost that job. So my stories about money are we didn't have any. We weren't broke. My dad was in the service. We had our clothes and we ate not very well. My mom was a terrible cook. Sorry, Mom. She was awful. I think that's why I'm so thin. I don't care about eating. I did tell my grandmother at one time that I was going to marry a millionaire, and she said, how are you going to do that? And I said, I don't know. But no one ever helped me do plans. No one ever told me what it took to make money. I didn't have any idea until I was an adult and had worked in several corporations and moved around the United States and did some traveling. And I finally sat down and said, I got to figure out how money works because it's not working for me. And I wanted to get out of that rat race. So I started studying money. I started talking to people. I started reading books and doing what I could do to figure out how money would work. My grandmother had given me some stock, Avon stock, started in her town, and I put that in stocks. I got a stockbroker and he sold all my stock and started moving me in stocks, and I never made money in the stocks. He made lots of money, but I didn't. So I said, that's not the place either. And I fooled around in lots of different kinds of businesses. And then I finally started this business after I'd been in real estate for a lot of years and bought a lot of real estate and fixed it up and then started being a partner in other people's deals. And one day I went, oh my God, this is where you make money. This is how to make money work. Commercial real estate. You can put in the same amount of money you would put in a single family home, but you're going to get so much more return. And then I just kept reading books. So, I mean, everybody's got their story around money. Money doesn't grow on trees. How often do you hear something like that? Or we don't have that right now. You'll have to figure out how to make it happen. The good thing is my parents told me I had to figure out how to make it happen, if that makes any sense. And that's what I did. So
remember, my very first job was babysitting. I was 10 years old to babysit the neighbors' kids. And then from there I had a paper route. I actually covered a paper route for a friend of mine. She was going on vacation, so I covered her paper route while she was away. What else did I do? I worked in tea rooms as a waitress and behind the counter in tea rooms. Worked as a gas pump jockey. I was head coach for a gymnastics club. And that was all up until the age of 16. And then at 17, I went and joined the Royal New Zealand Air Force. So, but again, our money conversations didn't really happen. Our parents gave us allowances for chores that we did around the house. And, we were taught to save, and we were given, we had soda cans. Those were the ones that had the tear tabs on them back in those days. They were coins into the slots. And then when we were going on vacation, we then got to open our soda cans, and that was our spending money while we were on vacation. So we had to save up to spend. If we wanted to spend money on our vacation, we had to save it up. And that's how we did that. So, they would pay for activities for us to do, but if there was something we wanted to buy, we had to buy it ourselves. But not really a lot of talk about money. But you mentioned something that you talk to people. What sort of people did you talk with?
Well, I was also a waitress, so I talked to people that were at because when you're serving breakfast or lunch, they just hang around. They don't have a lot to do. You see the same people every day. We just started talking to them. And then I was in some educational classes, and we had what we called coursework. So we would get together every couple of weeks and do this coursework. And I was hanging out with people at the beach, and they had some really nice homes. And they didn't really talk about money, but you could see that they were super nice people. They helped you with whatever you had needed help with. They were open to any kind of conversation you could have. And I could see that people with money were really great people. Now, how did they get there? So I started asking, what do you do for a living? We having a dinner conversation. How's work going? What are you doing to make a difference? Those kind of conversations, and found out these people all had their own businesses, and that's how they were making their money. And then they took the money that they did have and they invested it to make that money that they saved grow, which is a really good thing to do, because one day, hopefully, you retire and you've got the money you need to live a really great life. So I would talk when I was in real estate as a broker. I asked all the people in the office how they made what they had happen. How were they successful real estate agents? How did they represent people? So I just talked to everybody about everything they did. I worked in the garment industry for years. I talked to the owners there about how they did. What they did is they told me, I bought this business and you work for me. I'm like, okay, so you get all the profit and I do all the work. Let me think about that. Maybe I could get in a position where I own the company and I can pay other people to do the work.
And what are some of the books that you read over the years?
Oh my God, I've got a library of books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dr. Stanley, he did this really great book about, I can't remember. There's one called, I wish I was prepared for this one.
Sorry, I just throw questions in there.
Yeah, you just throw. Well, I got a library full of them, but my library is not here in this room. It's in another room. One was From Good to Great, and then Great to Greater. Those were really good books by a very famous author. I also read a really good, like a morning inspiration book by Bob Proctor. It's called Bob Proctor. And it's just inspirational, like, don't let things stop you, like what Churchill said about when you're in hell, keep going. How else are you going to get out of there? So like that. Oh, Stanley. Oh, it's a great book. It's really an older book, but they did this research on, they sent out forms to people to fill out, and they asked them all these questions like, they're rich people. Do they buy new cars or do they buy used cars? How often do they buy them? Do you take care of your daughters? How do you take care of your daughters when they're grown? How do you take care of your sons? Like that. And so they gave all this feedback, and it was really very interesting. that's probably one of the best money books I've read, because fathers have to either find the right guy for their daughters to marry, or they expect to take care of their daughters for the rest of their lives, and they want to make sure that their son's in a position to take care of their sisters, because they don't think that women can stand on their own. Now, this book's over 20 years old, and we know that's changed over time, but men's attitudes haven't really changed that much. When you think about it, really, men's job is to protect. They want to make sure that they want to make sure their daughters are taken care of. And I think that's kind of nice in one sense. And the other sense is you got to make your kids stand up on their own 2 feet. I think that's super important. But the other thing that was really kind of blew me away was they don't go out, they make a lot of money, right? But they live in the same house that their first house where they got married and lived like in a 3 or 4 bedroom house. They're still in that same house. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. That's the name of the book. The Millionaire Next
That's a great book. I love that book.
It's a great book, right? They buy used, like a car that's like 3 or 4 years old, a used Mercedes.
Yep.
Instance. That's just really, I'm like, yeah, well, I always buy used cars too. Like you buy used cars because a new car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, isn't that good. Who buys the new cars? The inheritors of money. They buy new cars.
I bought one new car once. It was back in 2004. It was a 2005 Subaru Forester, and I sold it 15 years later, and it only had 111,000 miles on it.
Wow, I crashed the last one I had. It had over 200,000 miles.
So it went to a new owner, and the new owner asked the broker who I went through to sell it, asked, did this car ever have a name? And so he goes, what was it you called that car again? I said, Animal, because I named my car after Muppets at the time.
I've never named my cars. My mom always named hers.
I always named mine. So. Have you ever read the book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz?
Yes, I've also read that. That's a great book. I keep that in my library. And then I have some books by Keith Cunningham, who's just got his last book called Blueprint. And I've read several books by Robert Schenenfeld, who also he was a real estate guru. And then he moved into a whole different arena about mindset. Keeping an open mind and asking for whatever it is you want, and creating how to get that. And I was just reading one of them, like you write a letter to what he calls your CEO, your universal CEO, and a very, very interesting approach. And I've done courses with him. I've done courses with Bob Allen, with Casey Eberhardt. I like to keep learning. Bill Walsh, I've worked with Bill Walsh, T. Harv Eker. Like I keep working with different people because they all have different approaches on how they view something, and everyone has a little bit different way of doing things. So then you get to pick up the different things that will work for you, and that's what I install in the business.
Yeah, one thing I learned with Casey early on was not to say I can't do something. Like when he first started the mastermind group 10 years ago, I remember sitting there and thinking, oh, I don't need to listen to this person that's in the breakthrough zone because, their business doesn't relate to my business. And then I learned, and it was very, very early, like in one of the first 2 sessions of our mastermind group, that I learned very, very quickly that you don't say I can't, you flip it to say, how can I make that work for my business? Exactly. And that became the game changer, because now I was listening to people in real estate investing. I was listening to spa owners. I was listening to all these people that we had that, audio visuals. I was listening to all these people that had all these different trades, learning how they do their business, but at the same time going, oh, that's a really cool idea. How can I make that work for my business? Did every idea work? No, but at least I thought, how can I? And tried to figure it out. And that's one thing I think is that mindset thing. You've got to switch that on and be open. And by being open is to say, oh, that person's a car mechanic. I don't need to. Yeah, you listen to that car mechanic in their business, because there's going to be something in there that you can turn around and go, well, how can I make that work for my business? And that could be that thing that little key that you need that fits in that little lock that unlocks the big door.
called?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That you get the next brainwave from, you then become, you're off and running type of thing. It's that. So where that little idea comes from, because you never know where the next best, where's the next $1 million idea going to come from? You never know,
Well,
unless
yeah.
you're willing to say, how can I make that work for my business?
Which is exactly what I got out of the mastermind that we're in, because I was flailing at that time.
I remember that.
With different people. And when I sat on the hot seat and people asked me my background and what I did, this is what we came up with. We came up with this because what I want to do is I want to be able to support other people. So, because most people are in the same position I was in. We don't know enough about money. We don't know how money works. We don't know how to take what money we do have and make it work better for us, the tool money. We don't talk about it because nobody ever talked about it. So how do you talk about it? And then have them also become wealthy and have a good retirement and have the things that they need and teach their children. We don't talk to our children, and all the books that I've read about children. Oh, I forgot to talk about those books. Say to start talking to your children when they're 3. When they're 3 years old, you start talking to them. And the easiest lesson is when you're in the grocery store and they go, I want that. I want that. And you say to them, oh, really? Okay. Well, all you need to do is earn the money so you could buy that. Let's talk about that when we get home. Okay. And the next time we come to the store, you've got the money, you could buy it. And so you talk to the kid about the money and how to make that money. Oh, so if you put your toys away, every day you'll get whatever, and they'll find 3 or 4 months down the line, they finally got that $10 that they need to buy that. And the parent takes them to the store and they go, okay, you could buy that. And they're like, I don't want to spend my money on it. I want you to spend your money on it. Why don't you want to buy that? It took so much. It took so long.
But at least you learned the value of the dollar by having to save for it.
Say again?
I said, at least you learned the value of money by having to save for something and not just be given it.
Exactly. And I tell you, they've got that for the rest of their life. It's unbelievable. My nephew taught his son about money by doing something very similar to that. And now it's always a negotiation. Dad, I want you to buy that. Hey, I'm not spending that kind of money. You got money. You do it. He goes, well, I don't want to spend my money. I want you to spend your money. And they have these conversations. But what's great is they have the conversations because they both understand the money, right? Dad taught his son. And now they can have these conversations. And he's 9 years old. So it's great. It's great to see how children are when they're taught, and because they're sponges, they absorb everything.
It is. I like the idea of teaching kids and teaching kids how to use money, but then I'm not the greatest with money either. So I'm still learning. I'm still, figuring things out, and 57 years old, and I'm still figuring things out, and I'll probably still be figuring things out when it's time for me to take the dirt nap.
Probably.
There's always so much to learn, and math has never been a strong point of mine, although basic math, I've got that down pat. But when you've got to add in percentages and some of that other stuff that they do, then I'm getting people saying, hang on, I'm just going to try something real quick because people are saying they can't see my camera. So I'm not sure what's going on. They think I got a post-it note over there is nothing over my camera. I don't know why it's not, my video's not on. Let me just try this and see if that works. And I'm just checking it. Now I know we had problems getting Peggy on camera when we first started.
Talk about learning new things.
Yeah.
Always learning new things.
Always, always, always.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'd like other people to be able to have what they want, and to do that, we need to have money conversations. So
one of the money conversations I like that you have is that every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, you have your Nest Egg Builder show, and you're always bringing in different experts in different areas on investing for the commercial real estate and talking about that sort of thing. So it's Monday today. So who's coming on tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow we have his name just dropped out of my head, but he's going to talk about self-storage and how self-storage works and how it actually works through almost any kind of economy.
Wow.
He will be on, and I had a call with him this morning to talk about that conversation, and he's been working with a couple of different groups, and the first group he was working with when I first met him, they own over $100 million of self-storage, and they're buying more and more and more, and they bought all the way through COVID, never stopped.
That's going to be an interesting conversation.
It'll be great. It'll be fun.
I know I'll have to watch the recording of it because at 2 p.m. I'm working at that time, so I can't get online to be able to watch that. So I know I'll be watching the recording on that one.
Exactly. I understand. But we do send out, even if you can't make it, if you're on our list, we send you the link so you could watch it afterwards.
Absolutely. And I like that. So if people want to get hold of you, we actually have in the description below, there is a link there that you can connect with Peggy on. And if you want to have those money conversations with her. And so just go to the description below, click on her link. And for those of you who say my camera is off, I'm sorry. It looks on at my side. That's all I can say. I don't know what's going on.
And a gentleman that's coming on tomorrow to talk about self-storage is Guy Variable.
Guy Variable. Excellent. So, and if you want to, is it the nesteggbuilder.com to get to the podcast, correct?
The Nest Egg Builder Show.
Sorry, nesteggbuildershow.com. My apologies on that one.
It's a Zoom, it's live, and you get to ask questions.
Awesome. We love that. Peggy, well, hang on. First of all, you've got a book out, which has nothing to do with real estate.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing, but it's an awesome, awesome book.
Yep. It's an awesome book called Choose Happy. It's just fun book. There's quotes in it. We have a great artist who makes it really fun, but it's a lift every day, a good laugh, a chuckle. None of that should bring tears to your eyes unless you're laughing so hard.
I don't actually get tears from laughing so hard. I just go into coughing fits because I forget to breathe.
It's on Amazon. It's $14.99, and it's just a fun book.
And it really is an awesome book.
It is.
I don't have my one handy right now. I think it's on the bookcase in the other room.
And the reason I wrote this book was because I read this other book that said he traveled around the world to find the happiest people. And it kind of ticked me off a little bit because you choose happy.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is wake up in the morning and smile, and your whole body chooses happy. So just choose happy, people. No matter what happens in life, choose happy.
I'm always choosing happy. That's why it's a super fantastic sparkling day.
Yes, Miss Sparkle. Yes.
Well, Peggy, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy we finally got our schedules to click and get you on here. It was super fantastic and sparkling to have you on here. Any parting words of wisdom?
Choose happy. Look, if you have a question about money or you want to know how money works or you're stuck in something, I'm happy to have that conversation. We all get stuck. And why I am here is because I want people to have a great life. And the way to have a great life is get through your questions and then turn the page and move to whatever's next for you.
Thank you so much. And everybody else out there, thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry if my camera appeared off to everybody, but it's one of those technical things. We just go with it. You just get to hear my voice. You don't get to see the sparkly smile this time. That's okay. You get to see Peggy's smile instead. So all of you go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, konera.